Good morning everyone. Today we will discuss about development of male genital system. First of all, sex of the embryo is determined and it is determined at the time of fertilization. If the embryo is XY, then the baby will be male, and if it is XX, then it will be female. And up to the 7th week of intrauterine life, development of genital system or the gonad is same in male and female embryo. So we can't differentiate we can't say that the baby is male or female by sonography or by any features of the embryo. So this stage up to the 7th week of intrauterine life of genital development is called as indifferent stage of sexual development, because the sexual development is same up to this stage. Now what happens initially, what is the genetic basis of differentiation of testes and ovary? So the sex of the baby has been determined, and if it is XY in male, then if it is XY it will be male. And on the Y chromosome, on short arm of Y chromosome, there is a gene that is called as SRY gene, that is sex determining region on Y gene, and it is responsible for forming a factor, that is TDF factor. It is testes determining factor. So it will be this testes determining factor will be responsible for development of testes. Now when the testes has been formed, it will or developing testes, they will release testosterone hormone, which is responsible for the development of male gonads further, and male external genitalia and other features of the male, and this testes has Tolly cells which secrete Mullerian inhibiting factor or Mullerian inhibiting substance, which inhibits the development of Mullerian duct. And Mullerian duct, also called as para-mesonephric duct, which is which lead to development of female genital system. So because of Y chromosome which has SRY gene and TDF factor which lead to formation of testes, and testes will release the testosterone and MIS hormone, Mullerian inhibiting substance, and which will inhibit the Mullerian duct, and it will stimulate the formation of external genitalia of male. So these factors are absent in case of female. No SRY gene, no TDF, no MIF factor, no testosterone, and that will lead to formation of ovary. Now how the gonads are developed. So for the formation of gonads, 3 types of cells are required, or they are developing from the 3 sources, and these sources are: first is the coelomic epithelium, second one is the underlying mesenchyme, and third one is the primordial germ cells. And these gonad development start at the age of 4th week of intrauterine life, and it starts at the lumbar region. And first source, which is the coelomic epithelium, and this coelomic epithelium lining the posterior abdominal wall. Here the this coelomic epithelium will contribute in formation of gonad. And the underlying mesenchyme, which is the embryonic connective tissue, this mesenchyme, this is called as mesenchyme. So coelomic epithelium and underlying mesenchyme. And third source, which is the primordial germ cells, and these are called as undifferentiated sex cells or the primitive sex cells, which are coming from the yolk sac. So these are coming from the yolk sac, and yolk sac is endodermal. So these primordial germ cells are endodermal in origin, but coelomic epithelium and mesenchyme both are mesodermal. Okay. So first of all, about development of genital system. First, as I have told you, mesoderm and the coelomic epithelium. So this mesoderm is coming from the intraembryonic mesoderm. In this diagram, this is the posterior part or the dorsal surface of the body, and this is the ventral surface. And on the dorsal most part, this is the neural tube, this is the notochord, and this is paraxial mesoderm, this one is the intermediate mesoderm, and this is the lateral plate mesoderm. So this intermediate mesoderm which is a part of intraembryonic mesoderm, and this intermediate mesoderm On the posterior abdominal wall, it form a bulging. So this intermediate mesoderm with the coelomic epithelium, proliferating coelomic epithelium. This is the coelomic epithelium. This is the peritoneal cavity, and this peritoneal cavity is lined by coelomic epithelium. So this coelomic epithelium together with, so this is the coelomic epithelium together with intermediate mesoderm, both forms a bulging on the posterior abdominal wall on each side of the dorsal aorta, and this bulging is called as urogenital ridge. So this is the urogenital ridge, which is formed by proliferation of the coelomic epithelium with the underlying mesenchyme. So both are forming urogenital ridge. Now this urogenital ridge has been divided into two parts, medial part and the lateral part. Medial purplish part will form the genital region or the genital ridge, and lateral yellowish or brownish part will form the nephrogenic cord. Okay, and both together, urogenital ridge also called as mesonephros. So genital ridge will form the gonads and the nephrogenic cord will form the future kidney. Now, so we can see that the gonadal ridge is formed by coelomic epithelium with the mesenchyme, and this coelomic epithelium, here you can see in this diagram, this is the coelomic epithelium, blackish one, and underneath it the mesenchyme is present. Okay, so this coelomic epithelium will form the finger-like extension into the underlying mesenchyme, which will form the primitive sex cord. And mesenchymal tissue or the mesenchymal cell will form the Sertollicin and the Leydig cells, and also form the Tunica Albugenia. And the yolk sac or the primordial germ cells will move into the sex cord cells. So these first of all, about primordial germ cells, which are arising from the epiblast. These are the epiblast cells, and they will move through the primitive streak, and they will form the primordial germ cell in the region of yolk sac. This is the hypoblast, and it will form the future, and the epiblast cells will move, and it will replace the hypoblast and form the future endoderm, and the endoderm will form the lining of the yolk sac cavity. Here will be the yolk sac. So lining of the yolk sac is by the endoderm, and from this yolk sac, so this yolk sac is also endodermal, and this from this yolk sac, the from endodermal yolk sac, this primordial germ cells are arising. Here you can see the primordial germ cells which will form the spermatogonia, and these primordial germ cells are arising in the epiblast cells. So these epiblast cells will form the primordial germ cells, which will form the spermatogonia, and these primordial germ cells migrate to the endoderm of the yolk sac. Here you can see the primordial germ cell, and this is yolk sac. So it is moving into the endoderm of the yolk sac, and through the dorsal mesentery of gut they will reach, this is the gut and this is the dorsal mesentery of gut. Through the dorsal mesentery of gut they are reaching into the genital region. So they have been reached into the genital area. So around 5th week these primordial germ cells reach to the gonadal ridge region, and these are incorporated into the sex cord cells. Here you can see the sex cords. These are the bluish one, these are the sex cords, and in between them the reddish one are the primordial germ cells which are incorporated in between them. So here you can see in this diagram that this is the coelomic epithelium, and it is this is the coelomic epithelium. It will proliferate and form the finger-like extensions towards the medulla, and these extensions, finger-like extensions, are called as sex cord cells. Initially they are growing into the cortex, outer part is cortex and inner part is called as medulla. So initially the sex cord cells are present into the cortical region, and gradually they are growing towards the medulla. So these cortical sex cord will degenerate later on, and the medullary sex cord will proliferate. And in between these sex cord cells, you can see the primordial germ cells has been incorporated. Okay, so coelomic epithelium is there, and this coelomic epithelium and underlying mesenchyme will proliferate, and it will form the sex cord cells. And in between the sex cord cells, you can see the incorporated primordial germ cells. And these sex cord cells are growing into the cortex and later on into the medulla. And in male gonad, and initially, yes, we know that there is a indifferent gonad stage up to the 7th week of intrauterine life, where the male and female both are identical in appearance. So we can't differentiate is it male gonad or female gonad up to the 7th week. So that's why stage is called as indifferent gonad stage. And the gonad development start around 5th week of intrauterine life, and in this indifferent gonad stage, the sex cords these sex cord has been formed, and the gonad has been differentiated into cortex and inner medulla. Okay, so gonad has been differentiated into cortex and medulla, and sex cord has been formed, in which and into them in between them the germ cells has been incorporated. So that stage is called as indifferent stage. Now in male, these sex cord cells which has been growing into the medulla will further developed, and cortical sex cords will be degenerated later on. And so we can say the medullary sex cord will form the फ्यूचर गोनड, जबकि क्या होगा, कॉर्टिकल जो पार्ट है गोनड का दैट विल बी डीजेनरेटेड. But in case of females, there is a difference that cortex will develop into the female gonad, that is the ovary, and medulla will regress. जबकि मेल में क्या होता है कि cortex regress होगा और medulla will form the testes. Okay, so this difference is important. Now now we come to the further development of testes. That sex cord has been formed, which has grown into the medullary region. Now these terminal part or these sex cord has been degenerated, or they will interlace with each other to form the rete testes. So rete testes has been formed by the medullary cords, which break up and in anastomose with each other to form the rete testes. Now what happens up to the age of puberty, these sex cord cells remain solid, and after puberty or at the age of puberty, these sex cord cells will be canalized and they will form the seminiferous tubules. So these sex cords will canalize to form the seminiferous tubules at the age of puberty. So seminiferous tubules are formed at the age of puberty. So tumor of the seminiferous tubule, that is the seminoma, it doesn't occur before puberty. Now communication establishes between rete testes and seminiferous tubules. These are the seminiferous tubules and here will be the rete testes. इनके बीच में communication establish हो जाएगा. Okay. Now this is the coelomic epithelium, the yellowish one, and underneath it is the greenish one, is the underlying mesenchyme. This mesenchyme condenses here and it will form the Tunica Albugenia, and it will form further septa in between the seminiferous tubules. So Tunica Albugenia is separating the coelomic epithelium and sex cord cells. Here you can see this is the coelomic epithelium, this one yellowish one, and these are the seminiferous tubule or the sex cord cells, और इनके बीच में Tunica Albugenia है. So it will separate the both these two structures. So it will block its after the Tunica Albugenia has been formed, it will block the contribution of coelomic epithelium in formation of sex cord cells. ठीक है, तो Tunica Albugenia बनने के बाद ये इसमें कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं करेगी, सीलोमिक एपिथेलियम सेक्स कॉर्ड सेल्स फॉर्मेशन में हेल्प नहीं करेंगी, ठीक है। एंड दिस ट्यूनिका एल्बुजिनिया इज पुअरली डेवलप्ड और नॉट डेवलप्ड इन फीमेल. Now this greenish one, which is the underlying mesenchyme, it is forming also the septa and mediastinum testes, and it also forms the Sertoli cells and interstitial cells of Leding. तो जो सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल्स हैं इनके बीच बीच में जो अंडरलाइंग मेसेनकाइम है, इन सेमिनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल्स के बीच बीच में वो क्या बना लेगी, इंटरस्टिशियल सेल्स और द लेडिंग सेल्स. एंड ऑल्सो इट ऑल्सो विल फॉर्म द सर्टोली सेल. सर्टोली सेल क्या रिलीज करेंगी, मुलेरिन इनहिबिटिंग सब्सटेंस, जबकि इंटरस्टिशियल और लेडिंग सेल विल रिलीज द टेस्टोस्टेरोन विच ऑल्सो विल फर्दर स्टिमुलेट फॉर्मेशन ऑफ जेनाइटल डक्ट एंड एक्सटर्नल जेनाइटेलिया. Now what happens here, you can see this testis has been developed now this here is a duct of this region mesonephros. In this region you can see the mesonephric duct, and this there is a connection between mesonephric duct and ratis testis, that is called as mesonephric tubules. So these are the mesonephric tubules. These are the mesonephric tubules and this is the mesonephric duct. Now the communication between mesonephric tubules and mesonephric duct has been developed between the reti testes. Now what developed from this mesonephric tubule and mesonephric duct? So development of male genital duct, it is stimulated by testosterone which is secreted by Leydig cells. So this mesonephric duct also called as Wolffian duct, it is very important. You can the question has been many times it is asked, the derivatives and the remnants of the mesonephric duct. Mesonephric duct or the Wolffian duct, it will form the efferent ductule of the testis. You can see this is the this is the reti testes and these are the mesonephric tubules, okay, and these are draining into the mesonephric duct. So many mesonephric tubule establish communication with the reti testes, and these communicating tubules, these will form the efferent ductule of testes or vasa efferentia, okay. Now some tubules in the cranial part and endocaudal part, they are not communicated with the रेटिस टेस्टिस. सो जिनका कम्युनिकेशन नहीं डेवलप हो पाया है रेटी टेस्टिस के साथ, ये क्या बना लेंगी, अपर पार्ट में सुपीरियर एबेरेंट डक्ट्यूल और लोअर वाली क्या बना लेंगी, इन्फीरियर एबेरेंट डक्ट्यूल, ठीक है. एंड दिस इज द मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट. सो क्रेनियल मोस्ट पार्ट ऑफ द मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट क्या बना लेगा, अपेंडिक्स ऑफ एपिडिडाइमस. एंड नाउ दिस मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट इट विल फॉर्म द वास डिफरेंस, ठीक है. तो क्या बना, वुल्फियन डक्ट और मेसोनेफ्रिक डक्ट से सबसे पहले मेसोनेफ्रिक ट्यूबूल्स, दीज आर द मेसोनेफ्रिक ट्यूबूल, जो रेटी टेस्टिस के साथ कम्युनिकेशन इस्टेब्लिश कर लेंगी वो क्या बनाएंगी, वासा इफ्रेंशिया और इफ्रेंट डक्ट्यूल्स ऑफ द टेस्टिस. एंड जो मेसोनेफ्रिक ट्यूबूल्स कम्युनिकेशन इस्टेब्लिश नहीं कर पा रही हैं, दे विल फॉर्म द superior aberrant ductule in the upper part and the caudal one will form the inferior aberrant ductule. Now we come to the mesonephric duct. Cranial most part of the mesonephric duct, it will form the appendix of epididymis, and then this caudal part it will form the vas deferens. So this this is the vas deferens, okay. Now in the caudal part of the vas deferens, a bud is arising. That bud will form the seminal vesicle, and caudal to the seminal vesicle, the part of the mesonephric duct is called as ejaculatory duct. So this is the ejaculatory duct. So what are the derivatives of the, you can get a short note on the mesonephric duct or Wolffian duct. So what are the derivatives? First of all, this mesonephric duct opens into the, you can see in the first diagram, this one, this mesonephric duct is opening into the cloaca. Now this mesonephric, you can see the mesonephric tubules. Here you can see these are the mesonephric tubules which are opening into the which are making communication with the epididymis, and they will form the vasa efferentia or efferent ductules of the testes. And the connective tissue will surround it, and it will form together with the connective tissue, it will form the epididymis. Now the mesonephric duct or the Wilfian duct, it will form the vas deferens, and in the caudal part of the vas deferens a bud is arising that will form the seminal vesicle, and part of the mesonephric duct caudal to the seminal vesicle, that part is called as ejaculatory duct. So what are the derivatives of this mesonephric duct? epididymis, mesonephric tubule से क्या बन रहा है? efferent ductules of the testes or the vasa efferentia, then mesonephric duct, and this is epididymis, then vas deferens, then the seminal vesicle and the ejaculatory duct. These are the derivatives of the Wilfian duct. Now we come to the remnant of the mesonephric duct or mesonephric tubules. Here you can I have told you that in the upper part, the mesonephric tubules which don't make any communication with the retitestes, in the upper part they will form the superior aberrant ductule. This is the superior aberrant ductule, and this is formed by these, and inferior aberrant ductule, these are the inferior aberrant ductules, and cranial part of the mesonephric duct, it will form the cranial part of the mesonephric duct, it will form the appendix of epididymis, also called as hydatid of Morgagni, and this is the remnant of the cranial end of the mesonephric duct. This is a very common question which is asked in pre-PG MCQs. And paradidymis also formed by the mesonephric tubules. So paradidymis is here, this is the paradidymis. Okay, so the mesonephric tubules which are not able to make communication with the retitestes, it will form the paradidymis, superior aberrant ductules and the inferior aberrant ductules, and the cranial part of the mesonephric duct will form the appendix of epididymis. ठीक है, तो appendix of epididymis किससे बन रहा है? mesonephric duct के cranial end से. Now paramesonephric duct or the Wilfian duct, it will form the remnant of the Wilfian paramesonephric duct will form the appendix of testes. Now what descent of testes, ये हमने gross में पढ़ा है, so I am not going into detail. What are the factors responsible for the descent of testes? It is the first important factor is the differential growth of the body wall. Okay, the second factor is the gubernaculum. This is greenish one is the gubernaculum, which is attached to the caudal part of the testes, and the lower end is attached to the scrotum. So because of shortening of gubernaculum, testes is pulled into the scrotal region. Then third factor is the processus vaginalis. This processus vaginalis is a pouch of peritoneum which is bring by the testes when it is descending into the scrotal region. Here you can see the pouch of peritoneum which is coming with the descending testes. This is the pouch of peritoneum, and this when the testes descend into the scrotal region, this pouch of peritoneum in the cranial part will degenerate. So processus vaginalis in the cranial part will regress, and in the testicular region, this processus vaginalis will form the tunica vaginalis. And sometimes the fluid collects into the tunica vaginalis, that is called as hydrocele, and if the complete processus vaginalis remain patent, it will lead to congenital inguinal hernia, because abdominal content can herniate into this pouch of peritoneum. Then the fourth factor is the hormones, that is the testosterone hormone, which is responsible for descent of testes, and also the intra-abdominal and pressure and intra-abdominal temperature also favors the descent of testes. Now the timings of the descent, which is also very important. up to the third month, up to this will remain into the abdominal region. Then during third month, the testis descent starts and it will reach into the iliac fossa during third month. Then it reaches at the 6th month at the level of deep inguinal ring. Then comes into the inguinal canal at the at 7th month, and reaches at superficial ring at 8th month, and then it reaches the scrotum by the end of 9th month. So during third month, right, iliac fossa, then deep ring during 7th month, then inguinal canal during 7th month, then superficial ring during 8th month, and 9th month में ये कहाँ जाएगा, scrotal region में. Okay, now applied anatomy of related to the descent of testes. One is the cryptorganism or the undescended testes, and one is the ectopic testes. If the testis is present in the it is absent in the scrotal region, but it is present in the pathway of descent, then it is called as undescended testes or cryptorganism. And in condition of ectopic, it is present, testis is found away from the normal path of descent, then it is called as ectopic testes. So if in the abdominal region or superficial ring, deep ring or inguinal canal, or in the scrotal region in the upper part they are present, then it is called as undescended testes. Here, this is the diagram of undescended testes or the cryptorganism. And if it is present under the skin of the abdomen or the front of thigh or the perineal region or in the skin of the penis or in the femoral canal, then it is called as ectopic testes. So second diagram is showing the condition of the ectopic testes. This is the ectopic testes and this is the cryptorganism or the true undescended testes. Now what is hypospadia? It is a abnormal opening of urethra on the ventral surface of penis, that it is called as hypospadia. And it may vary, the position of the opening of the urethra, it may vary from in the different part of the penile region. And why it occurs? It is due to incomplete fusion of the urogenital fold, and it is the commonest congenital anomaly of the urethra. And this hypospadia is usually associated with the chordee. And what is chordee? In this condition, penis is underdeveloped and it is curved ventrally, then it is called as chordee. So hypospadia is abnormal opening of the urethra on the ventral surface of penis, then it is hypospadia, and it is due to incomplete fusion of the urogenital fold. Okay, and it is associated with chordee, in which the penis is underdeveloped and it is curved ventrally. Now the second condition is epispadia, in which the urethral opening is on the dorsal surface of penis. Here you can see the on the dorsal surface of penis, this urethra is opening. So this is called as epispadia, and it is due to inadequate ectodermal mesenchymal interaction, or you can say it is during development of genital tubercle, or you can say due to failure of migration of the mesenchyme or mesoderm in this area, this epispadia is occurring. And this epispadia is most commonly associated with extrophy of the bladder, in which the anterior part of the bladder wall or anterior bladder wall is non-developed. So when the what happens when the urogenital membrane ruptures, urogenital sinus open on the dorsal surface of penis. So what is epispadia? Urethral opening on the dorsal surface of penis, and it is associated with the extrophy of the bladder, and it is due to failure of migration of the mesenchyme in this region, or you can say due to inadequate ectodermal mesenchymal interaction during development of genital tubercle. So this is all about development of male genital system. Thank you.